Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so I'm going to give everyone a chance to join. Do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hi. We have disabled the chat feature as we've discovered it can cause problems for some people using screen readers. So I can see that everyone is starting to arrive now, so I'm really glad you could all make it. Right, great. We're going to make a start now. So hi everyone and welcome to the third episode in series 2 of our Accessibility Insights sessions, where AbilityNet's Head of Digital Inclusion, Robin Christopherson, hosts a monthly online chat with individuals who are working to improve digital accessibility and digital inclusion. This month, he's chatting to Natalie Tucker, Senior Accessibility Lead at Spotify. I'm Emma Wheeler, Marketing Manager here at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We have live captions today provided by MyClearText. You can turn on the captions using the CC option in the control panel. We have additional captions available via streamtext.net/player?event=AbilityNet. Slides are also available at slideshare.net/AbilityNet. and on our website, abilitynet.org.uk/Spotify-insights. Now, if you have any technical issues and you need to leave early today, don't worry, you'll receive an email in a couple of days' time with the recording, transcript, and slides. Depending on how you joined the webinar, you'll find a Q&A window. If you want to ask Natalie or Robin any questions, do drop those into the Q&A area for them to address, and they will do so after today's session in a follow-up blog, and that'll be on our website, abilitynet.org.uk/Spotify-insights. Also, please feel free to leave feedback in the post-webinar survey.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Emma. Thanks all for joining us, and we are really pleased to be talking to Natalie here. Natalie, how are you doing?
So great. Thanks for having me.
Good. What have you got for your beverage of choice to get you through this ordeal? I've got a nice cup of tea. Yeah,
I'm sticking with water this morning, just
that's
so
a
stay sharp.
very valid choice. Absolutely. In fact, it's the best choice, really, on lots of levels. Okay, let's get straight into it. So, first question. Obviously, Spotify is massively dominant in the music streaming industry. And I was wondering if you could tell me if the principle and role of digital inclusion and accessibility has played a part in that growth. I would love for you to say yes.
Well, absolutely. So, I'm, as you're aware, may or may not be aware, Spotify's mission is to unlock the potential of human creativity. So that's making, a million creative artists able to receive, um, to share their art and having billions of fans enjoy and be inspired by it. And so, with Spotify available in more than 80 places and all of the languages it's in, making sure that everyone can access um, the art has been an important part of Spotify's mission for a long time. Um, it, but 2 years ago, um, rather than disparate efforts around the company, a centralized digital accessibility team was formed, and that's when I joined Spotify.
Brilliant. So it's obviously been important and has been prioritized, which is really good. So how do you think you got to that point? I know you haven't been with Spotify that long, less than 2 years, but
Yep.
yeah, do you know about the kind of historical side of how they were able to prioritize accessibility to the point of creating a dedicated team? And
Absolutely.
what can you pass on, kind of top tips wise, for other organizations where people are, feel like they're not really making that progress? They haven't got that level of commitment and resource behind them to really make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Um, some years ago, um, Spotify had, has um, groups within the organization that come together to um, to focus on particular things. And about 5, maybe 7 years ago, um, Phil Strand, amazing UX researcher, and now um, leading accessibility uh, somewhere where else, decided to pull together folks and really focus on digital accessibility. So folks from engineers and designers and UX researchers and content creators from all of the organization were contributing to this effort, and teaching each other, celebrating Global Accessibility Awareness Day, all of that. And so, like building that champions network, if you will, really made a huge difference in expressing the importance of ensuring that that all kinds of folks have access to the platform, and to the various apps and that Spotify um, produces. And so, you know, Philip was instrumental in making sure that accessibility was top of mind, ensuring that the centralized accessibility team got created, and helping us sort of from the beginning. So, like having access to all that institutional knowledge, and many of the champions are still a part of the organization today, like made a huge difference for me when I walked in.
Brilliant. So the ball was already rolling, but you've picked it up and really
Yeah,
run with it. Um,
absolutely.
so the dedicated accessibility team, the Champions Network, which by the way, every organization should have. Call it whatever you like, your accessibility tribe, your accessibility ninjas, whatever you want to call them to make them really cool. Um, is so important as well. You've obviously got a diverse workforce because every organisation has, whether they know it or not. Is there an overlap there? Do you leverage employee lived experiences in these teams and what you do? And do you prioritise accessibility internally as well as obviously with your customers?
Absolutely. So, about a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit less than that, Spotify joined the Valuable 500, which is a, a consortium of organizations from all over the world who make a public commitment to workplace inclusion and digital accessibility. And like that mandate for inclusion comes from the very top, the very bottom, and everywhere in between. And so I work very closely with our DIB, which is Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging team, um, focusing on disability inclusion. While my team is principally focused on product accessibility, many of us have disabilities, and like the employee experience matters to us as well. So we support that work completely, and
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
it's a sort of holistic, sort of wraparound treatment of inclusion and digital accessibility.
Great. They're a brilliant resource to ensure that you're not just compliant, you're real life accessible, bridging that gap between kind of technical compliance and really excellent, user experience. So yeah, under extreme
Absolutely.
conditions.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So before we went live, we were talking about, having to go back IRL, now that things are opening up again and people want to meet face to face, etc. Obviously the last few years have been really, really strange. What has the pandemic, do you think, taught Spotify? And what has
Mm.
changed within the organization in, say, the last 3 years?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, Spotify was moving towards a sort of a work from anywhere model before the pandemic, but once the pandemic hit, it like everything went into gear. So, and the way it works now is that employees can choose to work from home, to work from the office, or to have a mix of both. And so that's required us to think uh, differently about like how we connect as teams, how we work with each other, how we stay on top of, sort of cooler conversations, if you will, from afar. Um, which I think it's always a work in progress. If we're doing it right, we're always tweaking and adjusting. In the last year, business travel has opened up, so it's possible um, to travel for meetings and see folks. But there's a lot of focus on how do we make sure that the experience is equitable across folks who are attending virtually, as well as folks who are there in person, making sure there's the opportunity for virtual, sort of like a hybrid experience for most kinds of events and that sort of thing. It's really, been lovely.
Yeah, there's been kind of benefits and challenges, hasn't there, with
Absolutely.
remote working, hybrid working, not maybe so much, although obviously we're kind of costing the planet by commuting again and, traveling long distances for client meetings and that sort of thing. But as
Right.
far as isolation, when it comes to working completely remotely and, different employees who really value those interactions around the water cooler and that sort of thing, or maybe just need physical, actual support to do their role, that has been really challenging. Has there been any
Hmm.
kind of really big takeaways, wins and challenges in this area?
One of the cool things about Spotify is the culture of fika. And this is a Swedish thing where you get together over coffee and just kind of, you know, talk and gab and catch up. And in Spotify, within the organization, it's an institution. So you can basically put a fika on someone's calendar, anyone's calendar. You want to know what they're doing. You want to, share what you're doing. You want to just get to know them as a person, and so it's not weird or unusual to have, you know, random folks wanting to talk to you, or like a pop-up conversation about any old thing. And I think that sort of spontaneity and flexibility, and also it makes the structure a little flatter, right? If you can reach out and have a conversation with anyone, um, it makes it possible for us to reach across sort of imaginary silos in order to get things done and connect with all parts of the organization.
That is amazing. I don't know if you use Teams within the organization, but I can feel someone running with this and creating a Teams plugin which randomly
Mm.
schedules meetings with two random people, maybe three, I don't know. Could be the
Mhm.
CEO, could be the across all levels. That sounds absolutely amazing. It probably would go down
Mhm.
like a lead balloon, but anyway, I think that's a really good idea.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, it really does. So I don't know if everyone knows this. I actually didn't. That Spotify delivers more than audio content. Sorry,
Absolutely.
my excuse is that I'm blind. It's no excuse. So you do exclusive video series, obviously music videos, documentaries, that sort of thing. So when it comes to talking about digital inclusion, obviously we're talking the platforms that they're delivered on, but we're also talking media broader than just audio. So how does
Mhm.
digital inclusion factor into your um, projects that are visual as well? I'm thinking obviously captions, subtitles, and maybe even audio description for
Yeah,
blind users.
absolutely. You know, we have my mind is going. I just recently had an incredible conversation with the team that's building out our transcript services and um, like looking at the roadmap for what's coming next and how we make sure that that's increasingly more accessible and beautiful. And so, like, those have always been concerns. Right now, principally, um, captions are available for our um, original and exclusive content, though linked transcripts are available for all kinds of, you know, uh, content. But we're looking to expand that, make sure that it's easy for folks to ingest, um, transcripts um, their into the platform. Make sure that those uh, ca- those captions actually provide rich information, especially for certain kinds of content where there are multiple speakers or there's you know particular kinds of storytelling. um, and there are new and exciting things happening all over the place. Like you mentioned, video content that's available, like podcasts that are also videos, and making sure that those can be experienced and really enjoyed by a wide variety of folks. It's always top of mind. And the cool thing is that um, it's not like of course, the centralized accessibility team is excited and committed about that. But there's a lot of pull coming from the actual engineering and um, product teams that are creating these tools, like coming to us, like we want to. Are we thinking about this the right way? What's like how do we prioritize this work? And that's so delicious for me. Um, so like I sort of walked into an organization that was deeply hungry to make sure that we can fulfill our mission, and considering accessibility a first class way of doing that.
That is so refreshing to hear. That's almost unique, I think, within organizations where the teams are, pushing for inclusion and they're really hungry for it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's completely unique, but, it's a testament to the amount of awareness raising, the champions network, the kind of activity, the comms, everything around making this a nice topic to be involved in, a sexy topic, maybe, I don't know. So you
Yeah.
might have already answered this next question, but so what's on your kind of to-do list going forward to kind of further improve your services to
Mm.
reach every single customer, or maybe on your wish list?
Oh my goodness. Like uh, our team is small and mighty, and like we're just doing extraordinary work. It's really fun, and we get to work with, like an incredible crew of folks. So, um, for example, Spotify recently acquired Hurdle, which is a sort of a gamified way of music discovering, and like shepherding those folks into making sure that that game was fully accessible and improving the experience was really fun, and challenging. So, a new company drops into the org, and one of the first things we look at is, hey, there are some things we need to do to make sure this meets the standards for accessibility for all of our apps. So working with acquisitions and new teams to sort of onboard them uh, to how Spotify uh, thinks about accessibility, make sure they have the tools and processes in place, and training, of course, to understand those things. I think, like working on the audiobooks launch, and making sure that that experience, like we were pulled in from the very beginning, before launch, so we had extensive time to test and make tweaks. And there's always room to grow. There's always room to grow. But it's pretty exciting to be at the beginning of that. I'm thinking a lot about uh, the work that we've been doing over the last few years and will continue to do around our design system Encore to make sure that our product teams, our engineers and designers have a robust set of accessible components across platforms and devices, um, as building blocks for building accessible um, products. Let's see. I mean, there's just so many, interesting, exciting thing happening. We're doing a big push around training to make sure that specific roles understand where they fit into uh, the accessible development life cycle, and make sure that they have the tools and understanding to do that. Because you know Spotify is growing rapidly. There are new folks coming into the product development process all the time, and we want to make sure that not only are we helping folks who may have come from backgrounds where there wasn't as much of a focus on digital accessibility, but also supporting folks who have been part of the initiative and leveling up and really staying fresh on top of what it takes.
Wow, that's really kind of pointing towards a level of maturity when it comes to considering digital inclusion that's really embedded, and that sounds amazing. All of that definitely needs to be in place, and it sounds like you're really getting on top of it, so that's great. So you've probably, well, you've alluded to audio books and, going to be a games platform or kind of, even more significantly in that area. Is there anything else kind of in the future about service delivery, new developments that might be coming along, and how accessibility might, carry on being prioritized going forward?
Yeah, I'm super super excited about the work that we've done to make Soundshop accessible. And Soundshop is a DAO. It's a program that folks can use to create audio. So whether that's music, to like make beats, or to do interviews. Um, so working to make sure that that incredibly feature rich um, online tool is accessible for a wide range of folks has been incredible, incredible. And like, well, while we've come from 0 to 60, we have big plans for what's to come. And like, I just cannot say enough about the dedication, the commitment, the willingness, the resourcefulness of that team, and making sure that we're thinking about things correctly and we can include lots of folks, from reaching out to external folks with disabilities to provide feedback on the work that we're doing, uh, to user research with artists with disabilities, for like you know Spotify for artists, for example. We're just like laser focused on making sure that like we put our money where our mouth is, in terms of our mission, right? Like, nobody left behind. This is a platform for everyone, and with somewhere in the neighborhood of 15% of the world's population that has one or another kind of disability or access need. It's just like crucial. How can we do what we're doing otherwise?
Absolutely. We need an hour. We've only got half an hour, but we we need
Right.
a lot longer.
Exactly.
So I'm so sorry to kind of try and bring this into the station, but let's last couple of things. One is where we always bring a question from last month's guest, and that was Heather Dowdy of Netflix, who I know you know really well.
Yeah.
And Natalie, first of all, wanted to say that she loves the fact that you both cherish in your hearts the importance of digital inclusion and then teaching that, spreading the word internally and externally as well. So she wanted to start off by saying that. And then she had a question which I think maybe you've already kind of half touched upon, which is training within a really big organization with loads of different teams. They are working on such innovative projects that they may sometimes not have the guidance or the guidelines to refer to when it comes to what
Mm-hmm.
best practice looks like in digital inclusion. So how do you kind of train at scale? How do you meet the demands of such a big organization who are really trying to do the right thing when it comes to, not leaving anyone behind?
That's a fantastic question. And the way that so, as I've mentioned, Spotify, we're talking not just about the Spotify app on web and desktop. We're talking about car thing. We're talking about Spotify on your refrigerator. We're talking about inside of game consoles and, like a wide variety of platforms. And so, and lots of ways of working from very large teams, and connect large connected groups of agile teams to small and newer teams, like for example the team that came in from Hurdle. So our team our our team really has a sort of a la carte menu of support, training, services, and testing, so that based on where a team is, whether we're looking at an experimental feature, or we're trying to tweak something that has been part of the product from the beginning, um, or supporting new folks who are coming in, so that we can sort of see where you're at, look, evaluate what you need, and really provide sort of targeted experience or targeted support. So sometimes, yes, that will mean a bespoke training for a particular org, but sometimes that means our engineers, the accessibility engineers on my team, pairing with a team to understand the nuances of, like how different assistive technology interact with a particular feature or flow. It might mean, yeah, like bringing in external experts to do, for example, training around UX, or user research with people with disabilities. So all that to say is that while like the technical standards for digital inclusion on the web, and a little less so for mobile, are more established, um, our and those standards are really important. So where they're available, we're absolutely um, referencing them. But we, like we consider the experience primary. So we're thinking about the people and the actual usability of our product. So um, a first class citizen is is user research, and excuse me, having teams be aware of the experience and the context for folks with disability on and folks who are using assistive technology on their particular features. So that is to say that we, both have a wide variety of ways to support different teams, while also always keeping top of mind that we're building things for people. And if people can't use it, um, it doesn't matter how technically accessible or not something is. Yeah,
Brilliant answer. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Okay, very last item is something to pass on to our next month's guest. So, here in the UK, ITV are a giant in the area of broadcasting and streaming, and we're going to be talking to two guests actually next month. It's David Padmore, he's Director of Accessibility at ITV, and Matt Simpson, Head of Technology for Accessibility. And I was wondering if you had something to pass on to them, a nice question that will really put them on the spot.
Well, I find myself really, really curious with an organization with that kind of reach and the disparate types of like content and creators that they're working with. I can imagine, um, that they're also, like having to tweak and change how they work with different teams and organizations and different programming to include accessibility. And I'd really love to dig into a little bit of the nuances of how they're working with those disparate teams to keep accessibility and inclusion top of mind.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We will pass that on. Natalie, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's early where you are, so thank you so much for jumping on. We hope everyone's found that really, really interesting. I certainly have. Thank you again, and I'll pass back to Emma. Thank you for the last bit of housekeeping. Thanks.
So thank you so much, Natalie and Robin. There's lots of questions that we hope to answer online in the next few days, and you'll receive an email with a link to access them. Finally, just a bit more information that might be of interest to you. We also run online training sessions on digital accessibility. You can book them at abilitynet.org.uk/training. Some on-demand courses that might be of interest are accessibility testing in mobile apps, how to begin your own accessibility testing, and how to do inclusive usability testing. We also have the TechShare Pro conference coming up in the next couple of weeks, and it's your chance to join Europe's largest gathering of accessibility and inclusion professionals and their allies. Please visit techsharepro.com, where you can explore the programme and buy tickets. You can also sign up to our e-newsletter on our website at abilitynet.org.uk/newsletter. And finally, don't forget about our next upcoming webinars, which you can find at abilitynet.org.uk/webinars, where we have two coming up, which we've just mentioned, the Accessibility Insights with David Padmore and Matt Simpson from ITV, and that's on the 13th of December. And on Tuesday, the 6th of December, we have top tips on how tech can help with hearing loss. So thank you again, Natalie and Robin, and to everyone who's joined us. Please do complete the feedback form you'll be directed to, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Bye, everyone.